Could having your own internet talk show showcase your unique message?
Welcome back, Chris, to our ongoing series here about the power of having an online talk show, obviously, and it's really our introduction to people about the power of being a guest on Expert Showcase as well. So, Chris, what are we going to be talking about in this episode?
As a coach or consultant, you need to find some way to showcase your unique message. What we have found as the most powerful way to showcase your unique message and to get people to resonate with you is to have your very own internet talk show, or at a minimum, be a featured guest on an ongoing basis on an internet talk show.
Excellent. Well, and as always, Chris, we love to give people 3 takeaways to hold on to from each episode that we do. So what are our 3 takeaways in this episode about delivering that unique message?
Exactly. So the first thing you do is you demonstrate your style and personality. And what better way to demonstrate style and personality, I should do spirit fingers or something like that, than to be on video. And what better way than to have your own internet talk show. The second thing is it gives you the ability to mention your unique experience in training. And third and final, always, always, always deliver value and quality.
Excellent. All right, well, let's take those from the top here. So, yes, video is great for communicating this, and I'll throw in my 2 cents to the overview before we dig into the first bullet point there, which is that, the idea of, showing your uniqueness here is critical, because if people are only searching for the domain that you're doing your coaching and your expertise in, and they don't know you personally yet, then you're kind of a commodity at that point. This is about showing people why they can only do business with you if they really resonate with you. So they got to resonate first. So, and that is all about what you're saying here, Chris. You got to demonstrate some style and personality, not just be dry words on a page.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the beautiful part. I could come out and tell you I'm energetic. I could come out and tell you,
not you,
yeah, that I'm the International Transformation and Empowerment Ambassador, which I am. And I could come out and say that, that whenever I'm in front of a live audience, I bring an ultra level of energy, which I do. And I could sit there and tell you all the great things and all the great comments that people have said to me. I can tell you all that. And when you see it in writing, it's one thing. But you're now seeing me, you're now hearing me. You see the inflection, you see the personality, you see the fun, you see everything. And the funny part is you of course can have the question, well, is this you naturally, or is this just a show, so to speak? And it's like, well, no, actually this is me, and this is what makes this effective. You don't have to have this much energy. So and here's what I want you to really hear, and I'm going to get a little closer. Here's what I want you to hear and understand. You don't have to have this much energy to have your own internet talk show. You just have to have your energy, your personality, your style, your uniqueness, because that will resonate with your ideal client.
You know how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, Chris? I mean, the whole point is, unless you have an incredibly artistic photographer taking that picture, it's hard to show a lot of personality in a photograph. Video at 30 or 60 frames a second, well, you do the math. If it's 1,000 words per picture and you've got 30 frames a second, there's a lot of information being communicated through video, especially facial expression, style of personality, as you're saying, energy level, tone of voice. All of that is part of what you get to convey by putting yourself in video format in front of your ideal target audience, right? And so that's why we recommend this.
Exactly. And there's one more thing I want to tell you. There's an interesting thing that happens in your brain once you hear somebody say things over and over. Once you get used to their tone, once you get used to their mannerisms, once you get used to their facial expressions, good, bad, or indifferent, you will start to read emails from that person in that person's voice and tone. So think about how powerful that is. I know this is true because one of the, I've went through it. I was at a, before I did all this, I was at a job and I had a challenge with a coworker. And even when I was nice to them in emails going forward, they always took it with a negative slant because they were reading it in my voice. And it took a long time for this person to understand that we had something. It was, okay, a discussion, and now we've moved on and things are okay. It eventually worked, but let's face it, if that was an ideal client, they're not going to, if it wasn't somebody I worked with, they weren't going to continue to read the emails because they weren't important to them anymore.
And well, that's so the point. You don't have to worry about scaring people off, because you're only going to scare off the people that you'd scare off when you meet them in person, right? So you might as well scare them off ahead of time and work with the people who do resonate with you.
Exactly. And what I want you to get is this, before we move on to the next one, what I want to wrap this one up, what I want to wrap this point up with is this. Once you get, I'll say, even into somebody's head, once they see your smiling face, once they see your personality, once they see your mannerisms, once they hear your tone of voice, when you send them an email, they're going to read it in that tone, and it's going to reinforce the positive message. So you use video as that stepping stone to get that impression of people, and it's going to even make your emails and other written communication to your ideal client more powerful. So not only are you going to have a message in video, you're going to multiply the power of the written messages and your blog posts and everything else you do, and of the blog posts they see that get picked up by news outlets and everything else.
It's an excellent point, Chris, and I'll finish this bullet point by wrapping us up and saying, look, the real importance to you here of showing style and personality, it is the one thing that no competitor can compete with you. It is truly your uniqueness, is who you are, and all those little bits that you can't even identify that make you who you are in your mannerisms, in your style, in your energy, all of that, and nobody else has that. They may have pretty close to your level of expertise, right, in the content, but they can't be you. And it's like we say with doctors, that the bedside manner part, they may have the same skill, but you want the one that has the right bedside manner that matches you. If you're going to go into a coaching or consulting relationship with somebody, it's a relationship, right? So they've got to have a level of comfort with who you are. So enough said about that, Chris. Let's move on to the other real powerful thing that comes from showing up in this talk show format and having conversations with people, is that you get to mention your unique experience and training without being obnoxious about it, without pounding people over the head about what your credentials are, right?
Right, exactly. So let me give you a real quick example. When I originally started my coaching business, I joined John Maxwell as a founding partner in his coaching, teaching, and public speaking certification program. I did it originally to better myself because I was looking for a job, and then I realized that coaching and teaching and doing what we're doing here was my calling, and I've spent years upon years and thousands upon thousands of dollars to master that and get trained by some of the best speakers, coaches, and trainers in the world. Now I'm going to pause for a second. The whole point is, a sentence like that comes out in an interview is very non-threatening, but it demonstrates to you that I've got some experience in a certain area. Part of the reason I bring it up here is because one of the things Mark and I do, and we'll talk about it later on when we tell you how to become a part of Expert Showcase, is we give you some free coaching behind it. So I'm using this as kind of a real-world live example. So I've already planted the seed in your head, and you understand that I know what I'm talking about coaching. Especially if you know John Maxwell, written 73 books, leadership guru the last 5 years in a row. But if you know the quality of his stuff, then you now are predisposed to understand that what we're delivering is high quality. You can do the same thing, whether it's training, whether it's certifications, whether it's experiences. You might be a consultant that's coming out of the corporate world, maybe a corporate IT job or maybe a corporate finance job, and you're starting your own firm. So
consultants so often have that real story, which is like, I went into consulting because I spent 20 years working for IBM or something, like doing this kind of thing. Well, you're not reading your resume to somebody and boring them to tears. You're saying, hey, when I'm working with you, I did this project back when I was, spending that time there. So it's weaving the stories in that just allow the person to say, oh wow, I didn't know you did that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, or we could be talking about personality, and I can say, hey, when I was in graduate school for clinical psychology, here's how this kind of comes in. I'm not trying to push that out there. I'm not reading my resume. I'm in the context of the conversation showing the relevance of that. So you as a coach or a consultant have worked with lots of different kinds of clients, lots of different businesses, and you can kind of weave that experience in while teaching a piece of content in total relevance, not out of context, and that shows your credibility again. People say, oh wow, I didn't realize that he had 20 years experience doing that. right?
Yeah, exactly. One more thing I can throw in. Like personally, I could say something like, it's all the stuff we're teaching now reminds me back to when I first started, listening to personal development, personal growth tapes, Tony Robbins back, 20 plus years ago, and it reminds me of a lot of the same things that, how he talks about displaying and the things that he talks about doing. Well, and I'm going to pause for a second. Once again, what that does is that display. I'm giving you some real world examples that display to you how you can, in the course of a conversation, intertwine something that makes perfect sense and not be overly pushy. So the key here is to mention your unique experience in training. You do it on an internet talk show, being a guest or having your own show in such a way that it's not salesy, it's not pushy, it's not overbearing. It just becomes a natural part of the conversation, and people will resonate with that.
Well, and I think that's a great segue then to, because it's a piece of what we're about to talk about, which is you need to always deliver value. And if you're being pushy and salesy, you're not necessarily delivering value. If you're teaching great content that allows you to deliver that quality week after week, it's part of what we do with Expert Showcase. When people ask, why do I have to apply? Well, because we're trying to make sure that the right guest is on the show that's going to be valuable to the audience. We're not just trying to create a conversation. We're trying to create a valuable conversation with the guest and have the content that is generated be really relevant to the person who's in the audience just watching the episode, right? So tell us a little more about, delivering. I know you're passionate about everything having value. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, give it to me, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. The point is, and I'm going to kind of bring something to the forefront of your brain that I might, maybe I shouldn't, but I will anyway. All these episodes you're hearing us talk about Expert Showcase, Expert Showcase, Expert Showcase. You're going to hear at the end, while we're not actually selling you something, it's actually a gift we want to give to you if you meet the application criteria. We believe that it's delivering high value to our viewers and the guests who've been on. Why do we believe that? Because the guests who've been on have told us that they've gotten value out of it. So some of you might be saying, well, wait a minute, why is this plastered all over the internet? It's like, well, because we were very quietly, we wanted to make sure we could, let's face it, we wanted to make sure we could deliver value, because if we're going to talk about delivering value and quality, we want to kind of make sure we can deliver. And that's one of the other things about delivering value and quality. You kind of want to make sure going in that you believe with your heart of hearts that you're delivering value and quality, because your belief in the value and the quality of what you're doing will override almost any fear, will override almost any negativity, because it will just come, as Mark, you and I talk about, and you said this, you said this countless times, it comes oozing out of your pore when you deliver value and quality, and it just comes oozing out of your pore, and then it turns from a sales pitch into, I'm giving you something. So that's why it's so key to understand. I mean, we talk in here, and I'm gonna wrap myself up. You'll all notice that I do that a lot, because I'm a public speaker, and if you put me on the stage, just give me about 8 hours, and we're gonna go there. We're gonna go on a great journey. So when we talk about delivering value and quality, what you have to do is determine what is valuable to your ideal client, and determine what you can believe with all sense of your being is high value, high quality, and deliver that. Because the magic that happens when you deliver what you believe is high value and high quality, and then your client resonates with that, it's just amazing when that happens.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I mean, one of my pet peeves right now, Chris, is that the internet is just so full of content right now, and 99% of the content is junk. I mean, it's being recycled, rehashed, there are even services that will just kind of recycle other people's stuff. I mean, it's like, why are we creating all this noise? I don't have the time to read junk. I want high-quality content showing up in my inbox or on the blog posts that I like to read. We absolutely recommend to you, when you're creating your content, make sure you're delivering value. Don't waste people's precious time. You're speaking right to your ideal client for a few minutes. So deliver them something that's useful, that's going to solve a problem for them, that's going to point them to more valuable resources that are going to make their life better, and they'll be glad to hear from you. So at that point, I'm going to wrap us both up at this point, Chris. So we're talking about credibility, and Chris asked you. Well, I'm sorry, no, that was episode number 2. This is a 4-part series. I did that on purpose, so you go back and look for the credibility one. Here we're talking about the fact that having content week after week allows you to deliver that unique message, showcase your unique message to your ideal audience. And we talked about demonstrating some personality and style. We talked about mentioning unique experiences and training within the context of your content so that you're showing that you really know what you're talking about and have that experience, and making sure that you're really delivering value and quality. So again, the point is this is part of a 4-part series all about why having your own talk show format as a way of creating valuable content for people can really work for you if you're a coach or consultant. Not sure about that? You want to try that out in a way that has absolutely no risk and has lots of value for you? Well, that's why we created the Expert Showcase over at expertshowcase.com. Click over to that. You'll be able to apply to be an expert guest and have that experience of being on a talk show episode. Why should you do that? Because we're going to give you your episode with your call to action at the very end that you can then use to promote yourself. And we'll even give you a free consultation afterwards to kind of coach you a little bit on some of what we believe to be the top 3 ways that you can promote your segment to promote your business. It's also how we promote our business, absolutely. So we create our show. It's a demonstration project, really, to show you if you had your show, here's the value that you could be creating for your ideal client audience. So again, enough said. Come on over to expertshowcase.com, click that apply button, and we will see you on an episode, hopefully, of the Expert Showcase.
Exactly. And until we meet again, what he said.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay, we'll see you on the inside.